Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Open Fitting Rooms. When I worked in retail, we had a team of people that would come in, walk around and tell the managers what needs to be improved. These people are part of an area team, and the last time they actually worked in retail was a good 10 to 15 years ago. After we came out of lockdown, the store was maniac. We had no staff and were really struggling. Just before 2020, our store had a big refit and we ended up having 3 fitting rooms. Because we were short-staffed, we could only open one of the fitting rooms for 4 hours. We had a visit from the team. They had asked why there was only one fitting room open in the whole store. My managers told them the reasons why. The head of the team went on to say that a customer had phoned customer services to complain about the fitting rooms being closed. They then told my managers that they must be open at all times. So the managers did just that. They opened the fitting rooms from 9 AM to 8 PM. As there weren't enough of us, we could only pop in every few hours. Clothes were everywhere. Theft increased to the point where we were finding hundreds of tags a week. Our stands were empty. Staff was getting assaulted because they also took away our security guards. Our weekly stock checks came up short. We were all exhausted. We were doing way more than what we were being paid to do. The area manager had to come visit again and had asked why the store was a mess and why the stands were empty. My managers told him what would happen if they left all the fitting rooms open. They had also collected pictures of the store every night after close. After that, we were allowed to close the fitting rooms again until we had more staff. They had also allowed the managers to hire more people. The same could not be said for security guards, however. The next story is called Do Not Call. Several years ago, I worked for a telemarketing company doing what amounted to cold call sales. They had a trick of offering BS price draws to get people's numbers and consent thanks to the fine print of the draw. They also had a super illegal policy that nobody was to be taken out of the database. Whether they asked, yelled or begged to never be called again, threatened legal action or even pointed out that they were on my country's do not call list. Didn't matter, we were not allowed to take them off the list. Only if the caller was deceased or no longer reachable at that number were we to strike them off. I was a student and needed the money, so I couldn't afford to fight the policy. But I could ask any caller that gave me a reason. Are you sure that X lives there? Or have they moved away? I had gotten it to 2 people no longer at that number a shift before management pulled me up. And they hadn't proven what I was doing by the time I was finally able to quit. The third story is called Won't Fix It. I work for a US company that has many distribution sites physically all around the world. The company uses a system that connects us all to the same database. The database holds all the safety information for our products. All documents are automatically updated by the system every few years when major adjustments to a product are made or when someone requests an update. I often do this manually with most products I work with to ensure that all information is as fresh as possible. I was retrieving safety information to cross-reference for a product when I found an error in the system. The product had been marked to be a much more dangerous classification than it really is. This error would cause shipping issues as well as issues for customers. I sent support tickets and was told that I was the sole person having this issue, as all other sites had old revisions which did not contain the error. They weren't going to look into the issue as it was too much work for one site. If it affected many sites, then they'd look into it. I shared an idea with my supervisor and they gave me the go-ahead. I pulled up the product on the system and refreshed it for everyone. Now the incorrect classification affects everyone else too. Over the next few days I watched the support system getting flooded with the same complaint. It got to the point that they had to release a mass email internally to report that they are dealing with the issue. I got a pat on the back from my supervisor and an apology from the support team in the end. The next story is called Not Help Anyone. I used to be an assistant golf course superintendent. One day my boss had me spraying chemicals on the fairways. As I was spraying, some of our employees were having an issue with their machine. I stopped to help them and my boss pulls up and starts flipping out on me, saying if I'm spraying fairways then all I need to be doing is spraying fairways, not anything else. Okay, no problem. A couple of weeks later, the exact same scenario happened. I was spraying and some employees needed help. I ignored them and just kept on spraying. Their machine was broken down for nearly half an hour in the middle of the fairway during play, before my boss rode around again and saw. He came up to me livid and was saying that if I'm spraying fairways and I see someone needs help, I need to be able to break off and help them. That's part of being a manager. I told him I didn't understand, because 2 weeks ago he explicitly told me to only spray and reminded him of how we got mad when I did exactly that. He just stared at me for a second and then drove away in his golf cart. He came back a few holes later to apologize and says he did remember telling me that, and from now on I should just use my best judgment. The last story is called The Boss's Son. Several years ago I worked in a print shop. We did large format printing, think larger than billboards, e.g. entire building faces and high quality art prints. Basically, we were living in the niche that large companies did not want to bother with. Sometimes, when a lot of work piled up, I helped out by sticking brackets on the back of the pictures on which they would hang on the wall and packaging the product. On the work card accompanying the job, the width and height of the picture were marked, but a certain salesperson often tended to mix this up. Not much of an issue. If the motif is clear, you would use common sense. But as I said, we also did art. And, well, you might assume a certain way is up, but that might not be what the artist intended. And sometimes the motif was totally abstract and you had no possible way of knowing. Even the width and height information, if correct, would not help, because you could easily flip the thing 180 degrees and see no issue. Trust me, the artist would have issues. So you would pester the salesperson if what was on the card was correct. He did not like being pestered. Having had enough unpleasant back and forth myself with the said salesperson, who, as an added bonus, was Big Boss's son, and having witnessed even more unpleasant back and forth with the people doing this job regularly, I had a plan that just needed the salesperson to mess up and the picture to be just right. Oh, and as an added bonus, after sticking the brackets on, there was only packaging left, so the next eyes on the product would be the customers. You think we are stupid because we do a trivial job? I show you stupid. Following the work instructions exactly to the letter, I glued the brackets on so that a beautiful artsy picture of an English garden had the vegetation pointing sideways. Due to the particular brackets on this picture, the customer had the total freedom of having the trees pointing left or right. I don't judge your preferences. The only important part was to keep the work instructions somehow out of the trash until the package arrived at the customer. Sure enough, fuming customer calls Big Boss. Fuming Big Boss calls salesperson. Fuming salesperson calls me. I shrug. In the meantime, salesperson realizes his screw up and retroactively changes the work instructions to cover himself. Everybody stops into the shop floor, while I just pulled out a slightly crumbled up work instruction that miraculously survived the weekly cleanup from under some stuff. It surprisingly contradicts the one salesperson is waving around. The Big Boss's anger redirects and he has a private discussion with his son. You could quite clearly make out the key discussion points through the door. It did not change anything in the work culture. I left the company, and the company failed soon after. But we had a good laugh that day. I like to think that the salesperson now has to work in a real job environment without daddy. I hope the customer was compensated for the trouble I put him through. It was worth it. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and would like to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.